Good morning, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio on News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So lots of great stuff to go over this week. Basically, we're looking at, who owns the beach, changes in My Safe Florida Home, profits from selling homes, what's going on with that. So there's some really interesting things that we're going to be talking about today, but we're always going to talk about the stats first. And when we're looking at it, the sale of single-family homes increased to 414 this week, up from 274 the week before. So that's really good news. I mean, it's going to go down again next week probably. Well, kind of a combination because, it's the holiday week the next week that the stats are going to be done. But 414, so that's going to affect a lot in regards to what the numbers are. The median price is at 4075, so that's down a little bit. It was above 430 or whatever last week, I believe. So that's quite a change. The inventory decreased by 22. And now it's sitting at 5488. So when you're looking at how that shakes down, of the 414 that sold, 46 of them were under 250, 33 between 250 and 300, 117 between 300 and 400, 90 between 400 and 500, 105 between 500 and a million, and 23 over a million. When you're looking at the months of inventory overall, it's 3.06. Under 250, it was at 1.7. Between 250 and 300, it's at 1.9 months of inventory. 2.31 between 300 and 400. 2.76 between 400 and 500. 4.51, 500 to a million. So that's where it starts to get a lot more options. And 6.31's over a million. So that gives you a little bit more room to negotiate when it comes to those over a million. Now, when we're looking at the list to ask price, overall was at 97.38, and under 250,000 was at 94.04. Usually those need a lot of work, but then we're at 97.27, 98.43, 97.95, 97.52 until you come to over a million. You're at 95.94. So again, on the high end and the low end, there's some room. And the average days to the listing contract, to listing to contract was 65 days. So that's, quite the difference and everything there as well. So that's always interesting when we're looking at that. So then when we're looking at condos, townhomes, and villas, the number was 115, up from 112 the week before, so pretty similar. The median price was at 255,000, and it was really high last week, so that's kind of back to normal. And that inventory increased by 11, and that's at 2749 overall. So you got to remember that we're looking at just a week here when we're looking at that. So the numbers are kind of skewed a little bit, obviously, because we're just looking at a week, but it gives us a good trend. So the total of the 115, under 250,000 on the condos, townhomes, and villas were 53 of them. 23 between 250 and 300, 24 between 300 and 400, 12 between 400 and 500, 3 between 500 and a million, and none of them sold over a million. There's 13 of them in inventory, but none of them sold last week. So when you're looking at the months of inventory there, you're at 5.52 overall. 4.14 under 250, 4.06, 250 to 300, 6.57 when you're at 300 to 400, 7.69 between 400 to 500, 22.85 when you're between 500 and a million. And then there's no over a million because nothing sold. But the average day list to contract there is also 65 days, so the exact same as the single family homes. So that's how that all goes. And when we're looking at the list to ask price overall, it's 96.97, pretty close to the single family homes. Under 250 was at 95.83, a little bit lower. Then they're all in the high 97s. 98 actually, between 500 and a million, 98.46. And so basically, they kind of mirror the single family homes when all that's going on. So it's very interesting to look at and see, but our market is stable and good and all of that. So we like all of that. If you're just joining us, you're listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm your host, Laura Peterson, your home sold guaranteed realty. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio with you every Sunday at 8 a.m. If you'd like to reach us at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, all you have to do is call 407-566-2555. You can actually text that number as well, so it's 407-566-2555. So basically, now we're looking at, some other stories and everything of what's going on out there. And basically, the My Safe Florida Home, that program is still going on out there. It's a popular program, and it's going to resume taking applications on July 1st. And it might be more difficult to secure home hardening grants of up to $10,000. So basically, what this is it's kind of a complicated program, but basically. What's happened on that people have had some of their insurance costs decline as a result of this. And so basically what happens in this is like you're able to, have some grants that would at least maybe pay for some inspections and that kind of thing. So people would know basically what was going on with your Florida home, that the insurance was good and that the insurance was not as risky as they had originally thought. And so they're able to do that. There are some grants that are going on out there, that improvements such as hardening windows and doors and replacing roofs to improve water and uplift resistance. And so that's what this really is. So the state has really come at the insurance from a bunch of different angles, trying to reduce insurance costs and to have less claims and everything like that. And thankfully, the weather participated in 2023, that we only had one major storm. And so there wasn't as much damage. I mean, it did its fair share of damage for sure in the area that it hit and hit hardest, but it didn't have, the catastrophic expense of multiple storms and all of that kind of thing, which definitely helps out as well. So with all of those things that are going on, what has happened is that the insurance, with a lot of claims for people having their roofs redone and all of that maybe you're at the end of the life and, somebody comes along and says, hey, we can have a roofing company replace your whole roof and pay for it, even though, as a homeowner, maybe that's something I should pay for part of or whatever. So I'm not saying that for everybody. I'm just saying in some circumstances. And as a result of that, there have been the insurance companies are always on the defense as opposed to the offense. And so and when it comes to that, you're going to get new insurance, they're on the offense and charging you a lot more money. So defense in regards to paying your claims, but offense when they're ready to, increase the rates or even give you insurance and all of that kind of thing. And the most surprising thing is that when you're working with somebody and, they're buying a house and the current owner has had insurance with the same company for years and hasn't really had any problems or anything like that. And then the new owner comes in there and as a result of the 4-point inspection, which inspects the air conditioner and the water and the electric and the plumbing, the electric and the roof, they're going to look at that with a fine-tooth comb, and then it's really difficult on some houses to get insurance. So that's kind of what's going on. So, if you are selling your house, it might be a good idea to get a 4-point inspection now. So it's kind of, beat everybody at their game and have everything all prepared so that there aren't any surprises later or anything like that when it comes down to it. But in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio on News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So one of the things that I found interesting was an article came out that was talking about the profits from home selling. It says dropped in 2023. So the interesting thing is that home sellers made $121,000 profit on the typical sale in 2023, which brought a 56.5% ROI. And but they're saying that it's a decline from the previous year. And so, it's and the decline, it was 122,600 in 2022, and it's 121,000 in 2023. So really, it's only down $1,600, and the percent of that is obviously, not very much when you're looking at the big picture and everything on that. So basically, what's going on is that there was a really nice rise in prices, and basically is what happened on that. And they're saying that the national median home prices rises at the slowest pace since 2011. And yeah, I think that that's absolutely true. We had a really big jump after COVID was done in 2021. The interest rates were still low and everything was great and all of that. But then the interest rate started to rise. Now, the great thing about it is that the prices did not fall and have not fallen. So basically, when it comes down to it, if you bought your house in 2020, 2021, or anywhere before that, you've got a really good equity in your home, more than likely. And so it's a great situation for most people. And so you're not going to find a lot of foreclosures and that kind of thing out there. You might find distressed properties that people, maybe didn't do all the maintenance and all that kind of stuff. And so they might be selling it for below market value if it's fixed up, or something that you can fix and flip and that kind of thing. But you're not going to find basically a lot of people that are having to go through the foreclosure process. And if they do, most of the time it's because they're not educated and they don't know that they could sell their house and they could actually walk away with some equity and with some money and that kind of thing, which is absolutely what we want them to do. And so it doesn't make sense, to give it to the bank and lose that money when you actually have equity built in. And so that's what's most important to me, for people to know that they actually look at it. It's like the amount of the increase over the last year here in Central Florida was pretty minimal. I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 4%. But still, if you bought your house several years ago, you're looking at 56.5% ROI, which I don't think anybody is going to have a complaint about that. Basically, when you're looking at that, the bottom line is that the fact that it didn't fall and our market has been very stable, there's a lot of positives that come from that. First of all, the appraisals are coming in correct. When a market is going down, then the appraisals are lower than what the market value is usually. And when the market is going up, the appraisals are less, because the appraisers are trying to, give the bank an idea of what's going to be happening with that asset. And the banks want to lend and be safe with their investment. So basically, when the market is very stable, the appraisals can come in right on the money, and that makes it really nice and all of that. So, the problem has been for a lot of buyers, and why the market hasn't been going up is because they don't qualify necessarily at a lot of higher prices. So when you look at our market here, and as I was mentioning, most of the sales are definitely under 500,000, and that sweet spot is right around 400,000, because that's where people can afford it at these interest rates. And so, if you're, and that's where when we were looking at the condos that were over $500,000, I think there's 12 months of inventory out there based on what sold last week. And that's very simply because when you've got the number of condos and that kind of stuff that are on the market, there aren't a lot of people that are in the market for that kind of property. But, we're very healthy, but basically, if you're in that sweet spot of that probably 300,000 to 500,000, that's where the majority of the houses are selling at this point in time. And so that's good for a lot of people. But if you're just joining us, you're listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm your host, Laura Peterson, your home sold guaranteed realty. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio with you every Sunday at 8 a.m. If you want to reach us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So one of the things that also people are looking at that is happening right now is that people are asking, are new starter homes becoming smaller? And as home affordability continues to challenge buyers, builders are now testing the market for smaller, more affordable starting home. Some just 400 square feet. Now, honestly, I have not seen those in Central Florida. Now, I've read about that there's some tiny houses in a few areas in Central Florida. I've been looking for them. I haven't found them 100% in regards to, what they are. I haven't seen them. A lot of times I see starter houses that are around 1,000 square feet, 1,200, 800, that kind of thing. I haven't seen them at 400. When they're looking at 400, a lot of times they have that loft and you've got a ladder to get up there. And that's where the bed is. And you might not have a full ceiling height or everything up there, so they don't have the full ceiling height up there, so that loft area is not counted as square footage. The square footage is just that full area. But, tiny houses are becoming popular among retirees and minimalists who are looking to simplify their lives while still having a home with their own space. Now, one thing that I have seen these smaller properties basically exist in an in-law suite. And I have definitely seen a lot of those properties that are about 400 square feet. So, for example, if you've got a garage apartment, which there are a lot of areas around that do have garage apartments, so over a two-car garage is going to be about 400 square feet. And actually, they feel quite spacious when you're in them, and they don't have that loft area or anything like that. But there are several of them that I've seen that do have like the cutout where you have the bed and you can either have a wall there, but a lot of times they just have a curtain or some kind of a divider there that it's got that space cut out. They've got the kitchen, they've got the living room, they've got it, very well. Over a three-car garage, you're looking at about 600 square feet. And so there's quite a bit of room that you can do things there. A lot of people use those for game rooms or media rooms or whatever. But having an in-law suite is also something that happens over those, 2 or 3 car garages in when people want to have in-law suites. And they are very nice, and they're more spacious than you would necessarily expect them to be. So I have seen a lot of that in Central Florida when you've got those added places, that you're going to have for adult children or for parents or anything along that lines. If you're going to want that definite extra living space that's, right there with you, but not right there with you. And so there's a lot of people that definitely want that. And in that, I've seen that's where the tiny houses are. I haven't seen, and so they're a second living place on a lot, but I haven't seen a lot of tiny houses that are just tiny houses and that's all there is on the property. But I have seen a lot of houses that are 800, 1,000 square feet and that kind of thing, like I mentioned. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio on News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So one of the things that I was talking about in the last segment was really, the tiny houses that builders are playing around with them. And then, sure enough, I forgot that I had also pulled out something that talked about new homes that are carving out separate quarters. And I was talking about that in the last segment as well. And basically, they're becoming more and more popular and people are looking at it. I know that there are different builders in different counties and that kind of stuff that even on your existing house, they can look at it and see if it's something that they can add that second property on there, that in-law suite basically is what I call it. But basically it could be for, like I said, older children that have maybe gone to college, came back, and they're just starting their family and they just need a small space, but they don't want to live right on top of, right with their parents, or it could be for the elderly parents. But multi-generations are living together more and more and more. And so those types of inventory and those type of products, I think, are definitely on the rise in what people are looking for. And basically it comes down to a couple of things. One of them is finances, obviously, but the other one is the support system that everybody can give each other and all of that kind of stuff. They love their families, like their families, want to be together. And so then this gives them a way that they can actually do it. And so builders are always looking at ways to do it. But if you are in a house and it's something that you want to consider, you'd have to talk to the county and see what the rules are in regards to that in where you live. In many locations, you can have a second address or an A or a B or something like that on there, which would be that second residence. And it has to be X amount smaller than the main house. And and then obviously they've got the setbacks, which is how far away it is from the other houses, how far away it is from the road and from the back of the property and all of those kinds of things. But there are definitely, ways you can do it. And many times it's going up that you could go over the garage. So you have to start with the county, see what their rules are. And then if you are in a homeowners association, you would have to check with them to see what the rules are as well. But many times those kinds of things are something that works and something that you can consider. And I know several contractors that's what they do, is that they, build those garages up. And many times you can either have the stair entrance, inside the garage, or you can have it outside the garage. I've seen both. And so basically it's a really good situation for people that want to do it. There was a guy that he had a condo and he sold it. And what he actually did is he had that as rental income, but he decided to go ahead and build a second story on his garage and have a garage apartment and rent that out. And as a result of that, he didn't have to pay the condo fees and all of that kind of stuff on it. So it was going to be a much better deal for him. So it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $125,000, I think he told me, and that was a couple of years ago that he did that over a 2-car garage. And so he created his own rental apartment in doing that. And I know that, a lot of people are looking for duplexes or triplexes or quadplexes, and you can get an FHA loan on a 4-unit building. live in one of them and rent out the other three and have them pay your mortgage payment for it. So there are all kinds of options and that kind of thing out there. If you're struggling and you're trying to figure out, what you want to do, there are different things that you can look at that might make sense for you. And that's really, my purpose in talking about all of this stuff is just to try to get people to think about it. Like, what could we do? How could we make it better? What could we do to, reduce our mortgage payment, get somebody else paying it, whatever. So everybody's different in regards to their comfortability in doing those kinds of things, but there are definitely options out there, and I think that it's just good for people to know about it, and so you can make those decisions that's right for you and your family. But if you're just joining us, you're listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm your host, Laura Peterson, your home sold guaranteed realty. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio with you every Sunday at 8 a.m. Remember, if you want to reach us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So next I'm going to talk about mortgages, because a lot of times, just in talking in real estate and talking about mortgages and stuff like that, there's a lot of lingo that goes along with the industry. And so when you're hearing things, it's like you don't deal with this stuff all the time, so you may not know what it is or isn't. And so I just thought it would be good to, go through kind of these terms so everybody knows exactly, what it is. And the first thing is, what is a mortgage? And a mortgage is a loan from a bank or other lending institution used to purchase property. And once the borrower pays off the mortgage plus interest, then they own the home outright. And so there are several types of mortgages for people in different financial situations and stages in life. So basically, there's stuff for first-time buyers. There's stuff for people that are on fixed incomes and all of that kind of thing. And one of the things that it talks about here is it talks about, do you need to get pre-approved? And I think anybody that's looking for a house should get pre-approved. And the reason why is because you want to know basically what you're approved for. You don't want to look at something that is well beyond what you can afford. And you don't want to look at something that maybe, is well below what you can afford too. I mean, maybe you do and maybe you don't, but you want to go into it with your eyes wide open, knowing this is what it's going to cost. And you can't always find those on mortgage calculators because they don't always have all of the fees that are involved in it. For example, if you're not putting 20% down on a property, you can get a mortgage, but you might have additional fees that are an insurance that the bank has that you have to pay because you're not putting 20% down. If you're getting an FHA loan, you definitely have additional fees, and they call them all different things. And even on a VA loan, they have a funding fee or something that is additional fee that might be on there as well. It's not always on there, depending on what your credit score is, depending on the bank that you're looking at, and that's why it's always important to shop them a little bit as well. But the types of mortgage and loans that are out there is, an adjustable rate mortgage is one thing that's out there. And that's where the interest rate is going to fluctuate. If it says it's, like a 10-year ARM, you might get the same interest rate for 10 years, but then after that, it's going to fluctuate. Sometimes it's a 3-year ARM where it's going to start fluctuating after 3 years. And so you want to make sure that you're looking at it and what your long-term goals are in that property, because it may not be the right decision for you in doing that. But an A loan is a loan that with the best possible terms, conditions, and interest rate. They have to demonstrate a strong credit and be considered on an A loan. And then B and C loans are used to describe loans or mortgages with less than ideal terms and conditions, such as higher interest rates and fees. So borrowers with little or no credit history or a history of bad credit are unlikely to get an A loan, but sometimes they can get the B or C loan. Then you've got the FHA, which is insured by the government, and issued by a bank or other lender. And you can get as low as 3.5% down on these FHA loans. If you can have a pretty low credit score and when it comes to these as well, but you might have to put a little bit more down. But so we'll continue with this in the next segment. But in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio on News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So I was talking the last segment, and I didn't finish up. I said I would finish up in this segment where we were talking about different terms and that kind of thing that go into a mortgage. And everybody doesn't... when you're looking at loans and that kind of stuff, you know, or you're working on them, you don't necessarily know all of the details and the lingo that somebody's telling you. So I'm kind of going through that and everything right now. So an FHA loan, like I talked about, that you can put down as low as 3.5% down. And so you can only have one FHA loan out at a time, however, but they are assumable. And I'm going to be talking in a little bit here about the house of the week. And that one has a 2.96% assumable loan. It's a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath house, 1-story with a pool. And it's got an assumable loan on it. And we've got a lender now that actually can find a loan for the difference between the current owner's interest rate of 2.96. You know, I think they owe about $300,000 on it. It's on the market for about $480,000, and so that difference, there's another product out there that you can get a loan on that for $100,000 or whatever if you need to, in order to do that. But an FHA loan is assumable in today's market with some lenders, so just wanted to bring that out. Now, a fixed rate mortgage means that the interest rate is going to be the same the entire term of the mortgage, so you can always refinance it. And a lot of people did refinancing several years ago when maybe they got their interest rate at 7 and then it went down to 3.5 or whatever. So they refinanced it. Now the interest rates are back up in the 6s, but basically you're going to have that the whole term of the loan. So your payment may vary as time goes on because of insurance and because of property taxes, but it is not going to change because of the rate of the mortgage. The next one is a VA loan, a home loan that's backed by the Department of Veterans Affairs. And basically this is for veterans, and you can get up to 100% financing on these loans. So basically we want to take care of the veterans. Obviously, you know, they've taken care of us, and so we want to make sure that we take care of them. And so the VA, there's a certificate of eligibility as a veteran that you need to get, and then you can get a VA loan. Then another loan out there is a USDA loan, and with this loan, you can also get 100% financing. It's the United States Department of Agriculture. So this is going to be a loan in a more rural area. Now, the surprising thing probably is that a lot of new home construction can many times get a USDA loan. There are certain counties, like Orange County has very little area where there is anything left which USDA can handle, but some of the other surrounding counties do. And so you have to make sure that it's in a designated area by the USDA, but you can get 100% loan on some of those, so that's pretty awesome as well. And some other terms to know when it comes to getting a mortgage. The first thing is the automated underwriting system. So basically, the best way for you to get qualified is to go through the automated underwriting system. When you go through there, they put all your information in there, your credit report, you know, all of your documents and all of that kind of thing. And when you do that, what happens is that the underwriters don't really have to look that closely at it because it's automatically been done. And so those loans go through the smoothest. So the automated underwriting system is the best way to have it. A commitment letter is a formal document that serves as a proof of a borrower is a pre-approved for a loan. It states what the amount the borrower is pre-approved for. It's not binding because you have to find a house many times for that to be binding, but it makes sure that you know what's going on with that. The next thing on our list is compensating factors, and these are elements of a borrower's financial profile that allow lenders to be more forgiving in other areas where a borrower has qualifications aren't as stellar. So an example might be a significant additional income like yearly bonuses or seasonal work to compensate for lower regular income. Another example is a mortgage insurance, which can act as a compensating factor for borrowers with lower credit scores and that kind of thing. Debt to income ratio, this is very, very important. So when you're looking at that, that comes down to, that compares the amount of debt that you have to income. And the amount of a borrower's monthly debts divided by their gross monthly income, including their housing payment, equals the debt to income ratio. And it's a major factor used by lenders. So this is regulated primarily by the government. And so they say, you know, how much of that debt to income you can use on your mortgage and how much of it you can use on your total debts. So that's why sometimes, you know, when people have a car payment, it might take them out and they don't qualify for a loan. And that's kind of a sad situation for a lot of people. But if you're just joining us, you're listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm your host, Laura Peterson, your home sold guaranteed realty. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio with you every Sunday at 8 a.m. Remember, if you'd like to reach us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So basically, the other thing that I just wanted to talk about are, you know, what is a subprime loan and all of that kind of good stuff. One of the things that I think is important for people when you are getting a loan is that you do kind of shop it around a little bit, I think is your best bet, only because you know, there are different things you want to look at apples to apples when you're doing it. And so, you know, they're required by law to actually give you the documents that you can see what all your closing costs and all of those kinds of things are going to be out there looking at one loan to another. And it does make a difference sometimes in regards to who you're working with and all of that kind of thing. And so, you know, it's like you might maybe the person that you're working with, it might be a little bit higher, but they can get it done quicker or more expediently or something like that. So regardless, you want to make sure that you know, you're working with people that you can trust and that can get the deal done and get the deal done on time, because timing is very important. And a lot of times, you know, when banks and those kinds of things, they're doing they're doing a refi or something like that, you know, timing isn't necessarily important. But when people are doing a purchase, it's absolutely important. So you really got to make sure that the right thing is being done. Okay. So lastly, I wanted to talk about the house of the week. And basically, I said a little bit about it earlier. And it comes down to that this house is listed at $480,000. It's actually in Kissimmee. It's in a great area. You know, the curb appeal of this house is awesome. It's got a 2-car garage, a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom. And one of those baths is a pool bath that actually is outside. But, you know, it's like looking at it, you wouldn't necessarily know, but it's got a large area that's around the pool as well, that's within the screened in area. It kind of sits in between some houses that there's some extra rooms. It's like a extra room, so it's got like a pie-shaped area behind it. So you don't really see your rear neighbors. This house actually also has what we call Florida glass around the pool area. And what that means is that at the bottom part of it, it's kind of clouded, so nobody can see in at all when you're in the pool or anything like that. So it makes it even more private. In addition to that, it's got a huge living room when you first walk in. Then you've got, one bedroom or a den, whatever you wanted to use it for. The fourth bedroom, it's right there to the right. Then you've got the kitchen and the family room. And you've got two hallways. So you've got one hallway that goes to the garage and goes to two bedrooms and the bathroom. And then you've got another hallway that goes completely to the master suite. So everything is pristine on this house. It's ready to go. And it's at $480,000. So it's a great property that you don't want to miss. And it's got that assumable mortgage. So it's great. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you next week. Have a great one, everybody. Bye-bye.